This is Ellocution with your host, Ello Black.
This episode is a throwback to a podcast we used to do called The World of Science with Dr. Hans Berger. I did this show with a very dear friend of mine who is a licensed member of the medical community. However, Dr. Hans Berger is fictitious. Viewer discretion and sensibility are advised. Well, I mean, listener discretion, unless you watch this on YouTube. Anyways, please enjoy, be well, and above all, wash your hands. Thanks, pals. Hello and welcome to the World of Science, the COVID Catch-Up with Dr. Hans Berger. I am your host, Genevieve Holcomb Marcellus, and with us, as always, is the brilliant, sophisticated, and very knowledgeable Dr. Hans Berger. Dr. Berger, thank you for being with us on episode 7 of the COVID Catch-Up.
Yes. Hello. Lucky 7 indeed. So good to be here. Happy Sunday to you all. Blessings.
Thank you, Dr. Berger. We have so much to cover. Let's jump right in. This week, the CDC reports that there are 1,274,136 total diagnosed cases. That's 25,996 cases since May 3rd. Also, Dr. Berger, we have had 80,936 deaths. That's 16,653 deaths this week from the COVID virus. Dr. Berger, when is this peak going to show up?
Well, it looks like we are looking at a pair of twin peaks, if you don't mind me saying. What we've got here, we had the peak that happened during the what some people consider the lockdown, although you could still leave your house and drive to places. But you've also got to realize what just happened. What just happened recently in the last maybe 1 to 2 weeks. We had people that felt that they were liberated from their homes and their children, and they went out into the world to be dumb. So what's happening now is the second peak. So there was the time that we slowed the peak, or we thought we slowed down the number of the people infected with the coronavirus. But all these people that we had, that the people had asked to stay in their homes, they're out now. So imagine, if you will, one group of people that had already gotten infected, that were out and about and doing their stuff. And the people now that were in their homes, they're going to join these people that were out and about. And guess what? Cooties. Here comes the coronavirus with the new group of people that are coming out of the home thinking, I made it. I'm 100% free. Look at me, Hollywood. But what's going to happen is more cases are going to pop up now, because there are more people out and about in the restaurants, in the nail salons, in the hair salons, and it's going to get really, really cookie.
I understand. So by adding more people, that just means more potential carriers for the coronavirus, is what you're saying.
Of course, with the hospitals opening up these elective surgeries and these radiographic views of people that are going to get the chest x-rays for like the cancer or the mammographies or all of that, you're going to have to test them before you go in, and guess what? They're going to test positive even though they stayed at home, because they've been around people or they've been around the grocery store. So the numbers are going to increase simply because of that.
I see. And Dr. Berger, what happened with, speaking of the CDC that we just quoted, the administration shelved the CDC report about reopening the country. What happened?
There's this beautiful story that, there's this bookshelf in the White House that the presidents keep all the books that they want to read, or the books that they have read, or, pinnacle moments in literature, whether it be politics or teen drama, with the vampire, just this collection of books on a shelf that presidents feel are important. Well, this book wasn't all important, and there were no books on this bookshelf anyway. So they thought, it looks like a report about a virus that seems to be growing a little out of control. Do we really want to read it? No, because we cannot read. So they put the book on the top shelf, the very, very top, so the man with the little hands cannot reach or grab the book, and they thought, it will be fine in the corner collecting dust. So apparently it was a written story or the plan about how we're going to attack the coronavirus, how we're going to treat the future of the coronavirus, but they decided to go ahead and say it looks better on a shelf life than in my head.
Now, I'm not well versed in politics or what's going on right now with the politicians, but correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't Michael Pence in charge of the coronavirus treatment plans and actions?
Yeah.
Okay.
He has been put in charge. This Christian warrior has been put in charge to pray the corona away. You don't need a mask. All you need is a Bible and a rock to throw at the people that throw stones at you first, because they are sinners. People who get the corona are sinners. At least that's what he says. Pence is the one who was put in charge for this beautiful little cutesy group, almost like a party committee at an office. This little committee that went around and they're going to attack this corona for us all.
When he was touring the Mayo Clinic, he did not wear a mask.
Correct, because when you're in charge of the corona is going to see Mr. Pence and he's going to say, "Oh, I'm so sorry, Mr. Pence. I'm scared of the Christian values. I'm scared of the white hair. I'm scared of the hidden homosexuality." But that is put aside. There is a new story about Pence. Have you heard of our new story about the Mr. Pence?
I was going to ask you, is it the same story that his top aide who toured the facility with him and also Ivanka Trump's assistant have both tested positive for coronavirus? Is this confirmed?
Oh, well, right now it is word of mouth leading to a confirmation, of course, because as you know, we have the best tests. We have the greatest tests. We have the best tests in the world, even in the universe, because the aliens from Andromeda came to ask us for our testings. It is so good. So yes, the test will go on. The test will come out, and then we will find out if they are positive or negative.
Dr. Berger, we've all heard the term valet, which we usually apply to you valet your car when you go to a restaurant or hotel area. Now, I've just found out that one of Trump's valets has tested positive for the coronavirus. What is a valet when it comes to White House support? And if this said valet has tested positive, what does that mean for the potential of coronavirus spread in the White House?
Oh, well, look what we have here. We have the aide for the Pence. We have an aide for the Ivanka. And now we have a valet is now testing positive for the virus. I guess 3 is the lucky charm. 3rd one is the magic one. How do people say in America? 3rd time is the charm. That's what it is. Well, it looks like our friend Corona has set up shop quite prettily with the White House and all the members that really we don't know if they're even staying there, because, you know, they have all the penthouses and the overseas houses. They're probably just doing all their important, what is that information that cannot be shared with other vendors? Classified? Yeah, they're probably all sharing it on the YouTube and FaceTime with everybody from the comfort of their own bathrooms. But yeah, look at everyone that hasn't been, because as you know, our friends, the leaders in the government, they haven't been staying at home. No, they've been quote unquote working. They've been volunteering their faces for the camera to look like they're doing something productive. And look what happens. Somebody that probably hasn't been showing symptoms test positive. So the transmission is going on. The transmission is definitely going on. Of course, more positive cases are going to come up with people probably not showing the symptoms. However, once the person gets the virus that has an ailment or previous medical condition that the virus latches on and eats and cherishes and kills you, then yes, it may come about to be a problem. But, and there was another story. Did you see what a beautiful act of kindness Mr. Pence did on donating cardboard boxes to a healthcare facility? It was such a beautiful thing. If you notice, he's carrying 2 boxes on this wheelie cart, this cutie little wheelie cart you see at the IKEA. He puts these 2 boxes on a cart, and rather than pushing the cart with the 4 wheels on the ground, he lifts the little cart's 2 wheels on the back and he's pushing it like a wheelbarrow. Well, because all those masks are so light, nine. So he drops off the box of the PPE. It looks like a nice little box of air and feathers. It's so easily transferred. And as he's walking away, he gives one more vote of confidence in our leadership. He asks people if he wants him to carry an empty box to look like he's donating something for the camera. Oh, so beautiful. Picture perfect moment of nonsense.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes.
Dr. Berger, so many of your followers have been asking this week, who is who?
Good question. Who is who? Who is the man talking about the boy that plays the mean pinball? Well, the who is the World Health Organization, excuse me. And what they have been in existence for a very, very long time. And they're considered a leader in global healthcare. They look at the pandemic. They look at what illnesses are popping up in what side of the world. They say, oh, yellow fever, pop up there. Oh, smallpox, pop up there. Oh, ignorance, pop up there. So what the WHO is doing is they're working for the better of the global health. Yes, that is who the WHO is. You can find them online. Just Google WHO, capital letters WHO at who.gov, I want to say, or who.org on there.
So allegedly this week, Dr. Berger, WHO said that there is no evidence that masks will protect healthy people from the coronavirus. Do you have anything to add to that?
Well, there is something to say similar for another situation we've had before. There is always opportunity to prevent. That is the first step of healthcare. The first step of health is prevention, education. So when we don't know what kind of virus is going on, but we know that it attacks the respiratory system, what is an opportunity to share with individuals about taking care of themselves? You put on a mask, no? For example, you don't want the HIV. What do? Put on a condom? Well, but the condom hasn't proven to help cure the HIV. Nine, you are correct. It does not cure the HIV, but it is a treatment in helping prevent the transmission of the HIV. So think of it as putting a condom on your face to protect that little pea head of yours from ingesting or inhaling this coronavirus. This cute little prophylactic, if you will.
And speaking of pea heads, Dr. Berger, what is going on with these protesters in Michigan? What happened this week, Dr. Berger?
Yes, P for protester heads. Yeah, well, we all remember from our last show, very good show it was, last show, there was a group of lovely individuals who were fighting for the civil rights of all Americans, because all Americans are equal and they all get the equal civil liberties. So there was all this hubbub. I like that word, hubbub. There was all this hubbub in the Wisconsin and the Michigan about all these people coming out. I want to color my hair. I want to clip my toenails at a toe salon. So there was all that going on. And now I'm looking for the story. Where did they go? Where are all these protesters who said, where is my yellow dye number 5 for my hair? Where is all this lacquer for my fingernails? They are not here. They're no more. They disappeared like poof.
Right. So it does beg the question, do you think that some of them contracted the virus? Or are they afraid for their civil liberties to be taken from them for being arrested for showing up at government facilities, fully armed, some of them, and threatening sheriff deputies?
Well, perhaps they all got tired because the average age looked like about 65. But as you can see, states were slowly opening up. It was just a matter of time. The impatient, when it kicks in, it really does a number on the people. So what we have here is that if something, a hubbubaloo goes on for, let's say, 1 week and everyone dissipates quickly, it brings on the question, how important were you truly fighting for all these equal civil liberties of every individual? Because it doesn't look like you were. It looks like you were hired. It looks like you were paid to just start a parade or start a hubbub, if you will, or start an information war, if you will. I do have a little tidbit I found online that there was a small spike of numbers in Wisconsin, and there was words that the correlation of the people that were standing around with their cute little signs, my body, my right, about these little masks. There is correlations that the people that were crying notifying all the people now that have the coronavirus.
And Dr. Berger, speaking of civil liberties, let's talk about that young man, Ahmad Avery. He was shot while jogging in Georgia on February 23rd, and we're just now finding out about it. Dr. Berger, what happened in this situation to cause the death of this young man?
You know, Georgia is such a beautiful place with all the peaches, but all the peaches are carrying around guns. This very, very, very sad story and quite pathetic. There was a group of neighbors who were complaining and saying that there have been a number of break-ins, a number of thieveries, typical stories of neighbors sharing stories, wanting to do the crime neighborhood watch, and that's all great, that's beautiful. Unfortunately, there was too much watch to the point of where some individuals felt like they are their own armed guerrilla, bringing the power of law into their own hands to play the hero, to be Superman for the Jane. So there was this father-son duo who were in their trucks and they saw a gentleman jogging who fit the description of a individual. Some of the individuals, I have a feeling from what I'm reading, they were unable to pinpoint any precise individual. So they said, well, he looked like one of the stealers in our neighborhood. So as neighbors, we got into our trucks, we followed him down, we stood our ground, and we had our guns. All he had, from what I saw in this horrendous video, was a shirt and a pair of shorts, some shoes, and that's all. He was pit-pat running, jogging, and there was this collection of cars, and there was a person in a car recording behind him running or jogging. And then what happens? A brawl. A brawl happens where, from what you can see, there was someone who was fighting for their life and another person who was fighting to keep his gun. And then what happens? We see in the video a collapse of Mr. Ahmad Avery. Very sad situation. What's going on here is a guerrilla warfare that is in someone's head. A war that is non-existent, but he is set as a chivalrous child with a gun and his trucks, and this poor man is dead for jogging on a street. But this is a person who, I have a feeling many people are the same. If you are jogging and someone comes up to you with a rifle who looks threatening, you don't have a gun on you, what are you going to do? You're going to fight or flee, or fight or flight, right? You're going to fight for your life or you're going to run away. So this was a gentleman who looked like he was getting approached by someone with a gun. So he was trying to fight for his life, perhaps takes the gun out of the person's hand, perhaps fight the man who was trying to hit him with the gun. That is what we see. We see something that is quite natural to human instinct. You see danger, you fight it, or you fly away. Well, you can't fly. Humans can't fly just yet, but in Pan Am or TWA, yeah.
Absolutely. And Dr. Berger, what I am having a hard time with is that one of the, I will call them assassins, it was a father and son team. The father worked as a police officer, as an investigator for the DA's office. Do you think that had anything to do with charges not being brought until there was sunlight brought onto the case by the video being released?
Well, yeah, there is a fishy little story going on, because if this happened in February and they're getting arrested now in May, why did it take a point that they were thinking, oh, no charges need to be filed in February with the video, but with the video now in May, oh, perhaps we should file the charges, perhaps we should arrest them. That is a pretty not so good story where a man has been dead for 3 months and now you're going to file charges against a pair of family members. And now justice needs to be served. Perhaps the same civil rights that were fought last week could be fought in the upcoming weeks for Ahmad Avery. No?
Absolutely. And we want to extend our well wishes to Ahmad's family in this horrific time. Speaking of political leaders, Governor Abbott this week, Dr. Berger, he's the governor of the state you're residing in right now, which is Texas. There's a story going on about he was recorded saying something about coronavirus numbers and what would happen. And also, Dr. Berger, there's a salon owner in Dallas who was arrested for opening before the House sequester rule had lifted. And once said salon owner reopened their doors, Senator Ted Cruz got a haircut there. My question to you, Dr. Berger, this salon now has a GoFundMe page, and someone in Gregory Abbott's administration supported it. Do you have any information on this story?
Well, the story goes like this. There was a lady that wanted to reopen her shop in Dallas. And there was a story that was shared by TheHill.com that said, oh, she's getting arrested for wanting to work. And the quote that The Hill gave to the public was, I don't have money. I've got to feed my family, my employees. They have kids that need to be fed. You know, it was a good story to share because it is a story that can be shared with many people that are out of work. They have a rent to pay. They have bills to pay. They have children that need to eat. So, of course, we all followed the story. And later, she comes out on national TV. She takes the citation. She rips it up in front of everybody's faces. You know, woo, 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 USA, America, America. So good, so good. It was very good. Later, we found out she collects exotic animals. She lives in a lavish home. She has wonderful cars. And she has connections with some very affluent people. And the GoFundMe page that was created by the hashtag woke patriots. Yeah, this was made a couple of days before she went to open the salon. A lot of details in a story that don't make a lot of sense. But now, good for her. She's raised $1 million with the GoFundMe. She got her PPP loans from the government. So she has all this money. Definitely no employees or their children are going to go hungry. Don't you think? When a person is in a home and there is no attention showered on an individual, they go out to want to get this attention. For example, when the children are at home, they don't like being at home. They like to go out. They like to pick on people. They like to throw eggs and poopy poop at people. You know, people love attention. So what is going on in the world of taxes is that our friend Governor Abbott, he created the phase one. We had discussed it earlier. I remember it well. We discussed the phase one. And of course, there was always going to be the backlash for the slow opening because people want the opening quickly. They want a nice, big, fat opening as soon as possible. So with our friend the governor, apparently he was in this meeting and there was a recording in this meeting, something along the lines of course, there were going to be more numbers because people are going to get more affected. But that has been the case from the beginning. We know our friend, the Governor Lieutenant Dan Patrick, or the Patrick Dan Lieutenant Patrick, that guy there, he said, well, you know, some people are going to die. And they will have to sacrifice the older people. They're not useful. They're useless. They smell like the mothballs. They sit in a chair all day watching Marty. So, you know, this whole killing people and people dying, that's just been a way of life for a particular group of people who lead particular political party. But this going on about the Governor Abbott, I won't say he got caught, you know, because people don't take in recordings, you know, by accident. I mean, hello. But it is a very sad situation where people, and a hard decision to make because the world cannot operate with everyone inside their homes and no one doing anything. What I see from this capture of information is that he knows that there was a lot of people going to die, but there was a decision that he had to make. Provide people with means to an end by another $2,000, $1,200, because we saw $1,200 makes everyone survive on 1 month. So they did not want to go this route of helping people out. So they said, you know, we'll just let them die.
I understand. Dr. Berger, let's take the conversation overseas to the South Seas of Venezuela. There was a report this week that an ex-veteran is claiming responsibility for invading Venezuela in the time of pandemic. Do you know anything about this story, Dr. Berger? That's very interesting.
Yeah, there was this gentleman coming out of Florida. Yes, Florida, if you're all surprised. So this group of men coming out of Florida, I guess they wanted to be guerrillas and help in the fight of the Venezuelan oil because, you know, that's what the problem is over there, is that they just have too much oil and not enough freedom. So what is USA veterans going to do? They're going to pop on the American flag bandana. They're going to hop on a boat. They're going to boat all the way down to Venezuela. They're going to go to the coast of a Venezuelan city. And what happened? A little shootout. Some Colombians pass, some Americans pass, and what happens? The Americans get captured. There's a video of the Venezuelans holding these people in handcuffs, standing up. All of them look like they ate pretty well, and they're still pink in the face. They don't look like they're in orange jumpsuits. They don't look like they're completely naked. But of course, this is good propaganda to look like, we got your boys. They tried to shoot us and they sucked bad. So, of course, what may happen, all hearsay, is they're going to cry out for help. They're going to say, oh, Mr. 45, I tried to make America great again for you, but I got caught because I don't have the manpower that you have with thousands of cadets. All I have is my little chick boat and some firearms that I killed maybe about 30 people. And I'm sorry, I know I did something wrong, but the color of my skin will prove that my equal civil rights, just like everyone else, are a bit better than the others. So please don't let them send me to jail. Bring me back home to go on Fox News and share to the world that I am America. Yeah, that is what happened in the nutshell.
Speaking of legal issues, Dr. Berger, what is going on with Michael Flynn? The Justice Department this week had moved to drop the case and the entirety of the charges.
Well, you know, our friend Michael Flynn began the lock her up, little iTunes tune. Well, what's going on now is after the whole debacle of the Michael Flynn connected with Russia to battle the United States. So the Department of Justice, our wonderful friends from there, they are talking on dropping all the charges from Michael Flynn and setting the man free. This is obviously rule of law in perfect form, because this is what we all read about in politics in school, is that by rule of law, when someone does confess to perpetrating a crime, you have to drop all the charges. That's just the most sane thing to do. So, for example, let's just say little Annie murdered little Bobby. Little Annie got arrested and later confessed to killing little Bobby. Then the judge says, oh, cases are dropped because rule of law says that if you kill someone, you don't have to go to jail. We don't have to press charges. That is how America is working, and it has been working for the past couple of years. Is the rule of law is non-existent, and this is plain proof that even if you confess to a crime, you can still get away if you meet certain details. Yeah.
I understand. And Dr. Berger, let's switch over to the general vox populi, if you will. Another 3.2 million people have applied for unemployment this week.
Oh.
Dr. Berger, my question is, I know why they're applying for unemployment. What is going to happen now that we have 17 million people unemployed? That is more, from what I understand, than the Great Depression. You have education and history. I don't. Is that not the same number of the Great Depression of the late 1920s and 30s?
Definitely larger, and the sad situations that with this large number, we definitely won't see the inflation. We definitely won't see the recovery. This is definitely something that proves that there is a recession, or we are very, very, very far from recession. I will say it quite firmly as that this is the beginning of a depression, no matter how you say. Well, we had those 2 trillion with the tax cuts about 2017 perhaps, or 2018. And then we had the stimulus bill, which was another $1 billion. And we had money go to the Mar-a-Lago, and we had money go to security for everyone traveling to every part of the world, and friends of people traveling a part of the world, everyone's children traveling with Secret Service. So that all has to get paid. And then we have another talk about more money to help with people with financial distress. So with all this spending, all this money, I remember growing up when people will say, oh, that's just fake money. It's non-existent. We'll be fine. Everyone will be fine. We'll get back on our feet. I say, okay. So with all this money being spent and nothing going back in, and with these PPP loans, if 75% or greater of this number goes to the employees, that's considered a possibility for loan forgiveness. So with all this money that's going out, how is the money going to go back? And where are the jobs? This is going to be a slow process, but in this slow process, we cannot recover so quickly. This is going to be very painful, very, very, very hard, very, very hard.
Absolutely, Dr. Berger. Where will 17 million people find employment?
And these are these servers and drivers and just the small mom and pop shops. Yes, because all the companies that are surviving are the Targets, the Walmarts, even Sears went down, and Montgomery Wards, and the Zales and Zaga, all these wonderful high fancy corporate stores. They're doing so well, but of course it's the small business. Small business is going to be a problem, and of course this was something we touched on a while back, and I had referred everyone to an economist or go online to research the economy, that the small business is going to hurt more and more because they don't get the kickbacks, they don't get all this cushion, and they don't have a salon that's supported by politics.
Yes. And Dr. Berger, speaking of politics, this week in California, there was a law passed that every citizen of California can now vote via mail. But there was an outcry from Trump, posted a tweet saying that dead people will now be voting, and the whole law is a scam, that millions of votes will come in that aren't legal votes. Dr. Berger, how would voting by mail work, and is it a fraud?
Well, there is something to say about this. I think there is an attempt to correlate ID thievery, where people take your credit card to use your money, where they're taking the same ID to vote. So I would like to pose a little poll or something to think about, a little crumb cake to nibble on, if you will. If you had the opportunity to steal a person's identity, and the person had $5 million, and they had a right to vote, there is a slight possibility that people would prefer to go ahead and take the $5 million and say, go to hell with your right to vote. I don't want to vote under your name. Anywho, and of course, with all these people working overseas, military overseas on all these military bases, well, that's just rude, calling all these people dead. There is a lot that seems to be playing here. Unfortunately, there's this little anecdote that the postal service is something that is run by the Amazon, but it was something started by Ben Franklin back in the days of 1700s, where everyone was walking around with syphilis and no underwear. This was something that was supposed to be provided to the people to help keep in communication, and it is something that is supported by the people by paying your taxes. Yes, the United States Postal Service is a socialist thing. You've been paying for it for hundreds and hundreds of years, but not a bad thing. It's just a little slower because more and more people are wanting to use it, and now you can do it online. But this whole voting by mail, I don't think anyone's Mimo is going to come up from the grave and say, "Oh, little Joy, I forgot to vote. Here's my mail-in vote. Please send it to me. I'm going back down with Hades to talk about how the river Styx looks too dark." So this whole voting by mail, I'm going to say it's just a sham, an absolute sham. Just like a sham at a Dallas salon that brings all these politicians with masks on, mind you, to get their hair cut when they could easily get their hair cut at home.
Dr. Berger, what is going on now with, there is a air quotes documentary called Plandemic, and it has been banned for social media for giving false reports and false information. But there are some that still believe what is stated in this video, Plandemic.
Well, our friends, the anti-vaxxers, they're bringing the amethyst crystals and the cinnamon essential oil to cure the world, which I support this decision. If this is something that you feel helps your family, by all means, do what you feel is necessary, but be sure you are prepared to suffer consequences of your actions. So there was this YouTube phenomena in the small world. So there was this pandemic about how this corona was a government startup, like a small startup company in the plastic valley of California. So there was this pandemic of the vaccines of the corona. They just want to do another vaccine. They want to inject us with this little chip. They want us to be sex puppets for all these Lithuanian dictators that are coming and being bred to grow and destroy the world. But what is going on with the pandemic? Obviously, it was run by or started by individuals who are very well known for sharing misinformation or disinformation, and just blatantly sharing the conspiracies of a very small group of individuals who are all about information wars. It was shared shared by a lot of people, and a lot of people fought back. They clapped back, like the kids say, and they said, no, nein, I don't want that on my page, and if you share it, I block you, I cut you off, I throw eggs in your face. So that's what it is. It's another sharing of misinformation intended to scare, intended to bring fear, and intended just to share information that, is false. It has not been proven. We've seen it and done it. Honey, move on.
Dr. Berger, why do these people still pop up and insist that medical facts aren't facts?
It's the sharing thing. It's about this autism spectrum. I've seen videos of children in the 50s and 60s that were on this autism spectrum before the polio vaccine came on. We don't know. I personally can't share what is going on with these anti-vaxxers in their head, but there's a lot of hearsay with the mercury that's in these vaccines. And there has always been shared information that when you are dealing with man-made medicine, your body is going to get affected unnaturally, because rather than eating a stick of cinnamon to cure yourself, you're eating a pill of heart medication. So it's chemicals going into your body. There is going to be some effect, but there is no proof that it is the complete effect of someone's inability to patent.
Dr. Berger, one last thing. Thank you so much again for all of your time and sharing your knowledge with all of us. But Dr. Berger, what is going on with these wasps/bees called murder hornets? And what do we need to know to avoid them?
Well, this makes me chuckle a little bit at the same time. Kind of get more hand sanitizer and toilet paper for this news threats that's coming along. So with these hornets, with animals that come from other countries, for example, you take our good friends the Simpsons, when the koala came to United States and the frogs had gone over to the Australia. There's a change in the ecosystem, or perhaps there is not. So there is this story buzzing around, pardon the expression, about these murder hornets. And what do people do? They go online and they read about the murder hornets, the hornets that are going to murder, but they only murder the bees. And the poor bees here, people kill them for no matter what, but we must save the bees. So these murder hornets are coming. But one group of people ask, how can hornets fly all the way from China, across the Pacific, across Hawaii, across to California? That's a long way for a little buzzer to buzz. But you have to take into consideration that there is importing stuff from other countries, and what happens when a lot of stuff is boxed up? A little piece of the air. Perhaps little animals are boxed up too. And what happens? The little animals want their freedoms. They want their civil liberties that are shared with humans. They want to come to United States, have a little house, 2.5 little children on a little pooch, and they want to stay here and stay put, and they're going to survive. So with this murder hornets, it's a great story. Perhaps it may not go anywhere, perhaps it may, but we all heard about the story of with the killer bees. We're well aware of where they are, what they look like now. So the murder hornet, they may murder, absolutely, because they're called murder hornets, but we will learn what they look like. We will learn to stay away from the bugs. We will learn to treat ourselves if we do get bit by a bug. And of course, we all know how to take a sandal and squash a bug.
Absolutely. And Dr. Berger, of course, we always state in every program that it is so important to wash your hands. It's always important to wash your hands. Dr. Berger, do you have any hand washing timer song you'd like to share with us this week?
20-second little tidbit right here. So if you want to start washing your hands, ready? On the 5, on the 4, on the 3, 2, 1. Good guy, Miss Molly. Sure like to ball and wash, good golly, Miss Molly. Get between the fingers, sure like to ball in 10 seconds now. When you're rocking and rolling, can't you hear your mama call? You can do it again too, because it's a great song. Good golly, Miss Molly. Sure like to ball. Get under the nails, between the fingers. Yeah, webbing. That's my song for today. For rest in peace, little Richard. Woo, shut up.
Absolutely. Godspeed, little Richard. Well, Dr. Berger, thank you so much for being on episode 7 of the COVID Catch-Up, and we look forward to talking to you next week, sir.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Always a pleasure to share what knowledge I can. Thank you. Goodbye.
Dr. Berger, thank you.
This has been Ellocution with your host, Ello Black.